EEE EDC back again with another knife video. This is the SOG Kiku XR. I know the company wants me to call it SOG. We're not there yet. I'm going to call it SOG. Let me go ahead and talk about the XR versus XR LTE, because this does come in both versions. So this is the XR lock. It's their version of Benchmade's axis lock. It is a crossbar lock that pulls back and actuates in that fashion. Now, a lot of their knives, when the patent on the axis lock expired, became XR knives. So this Kiku XR was one of them. And they use stainless steel liners. Now, new for this year, they came out with the XR LTE versions of a lot of their knives. I did the review of the SOG Terminus XR LTE already. I also did the regular Terminus XR. And so you got my thoughts on that in that video. This also comes in that XR LTE version. The big difference is that you have carbon fiber liners instead of stainless steel liners. Maintains a lot of the integrity while reducing a lot of the weight. Other than that, most of it remains the same. Let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad of this. Before we do that, actually, let's do some size comparisons. So first, we're going to see that this is actually, despite being a very thick and stout knife, this is actually a smaller knife, as it is more attuned to the Para 3 than the Paramilitary 2, and more comparable to the Benchmade Mini Freak than the Super Freak. And here is the Benchmade Griptilian, and here is one that I think is actually just interesting to compare it against due to the blade shape, which is massive against it, but the ADV Alpha. So this is really cool. It has a lot of the same characteristics on the blade, so I really think it's very interesting in that regard, and just wanted to show you guys as a result. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad of this knife. So first of all, one of the things I love about this is the looks. I think this thing looks awesome. It looks tactical. You know, when I first saw this, I was drawn to it. I mean, the first thing I thought of, obviously, is that Recurve, and do I really want to deal with the Recurve blade? But honestly, you know, I've been pretty impressed by this, and the looks alone are excellent. Next, I really like the, you know, sort of rock Dremel pattern that they have on the handles. I think it not only looks cool, but it feels great. The handles are actually curved and then Dremeled out. So they really feel great in hand, and the actual ergonomics of this are really good. Honestly, the ergonomics on this are one of the better ergonomics on a lot of knives that I've had in a long time. I would even go so far to say as the ergonomics are basically a 9 out of 10 on this. Very, very good ergonomics, especially in a knife that has this short of a blade. I'm very impressed. Okay, next thing is the blade steel on this. The blade steel is CTS-XHP, which is cryo-treated. Cryo-treating is going to bring out a lot of the best in the steel, and CTS-XHP is just a great balance of the different characteristics of steel. For instance, you know, when you have M4, like you have on the Super Freak, what ends up happening is you have extreme edge retention on this at the cost of corrosion resistance. Whereas on here, you have a balance where, you know, the edge retention maybe isn't as good as M4, but it's still excellent edge retention, but it's going to be also corrosion resistant, also easy to sharpen, relatively easy to sharpen, and it's going to be relatively tough, resistant to breaking and chipping, which is all great. The blade shape on this is really interesting. It actually is pretty useful in many ways. A recurve is useful for you know, pull cuts, because you end up using this part of the blade to you know, to cut things, and those types of pull cuts against a lot of more abrasive material end up going easier through a recurve than they do through a flat. So it's actually great to have this recurve here for certain types of slicing. You have this huge swedge right here, which means that you have a ton of lateral strength on this. The stock on this is going to be, you know, as you can see here, it's about the same, maybe slightly thicker than the stock on the Para 3. So nice and stout. Para 3 is no slouch on stock. Obviously, it thins out towards the edge. and mainly because of this taper that's all the way down, but this one doesn't taper the same way. It tapers, but it maintains that lateral strength. So that's great. You have a really good fidget factor on this because you have the flipper tab. You have the window here, so you can do Spidey flicks. You can roll that out with your thumb. You can use the axis lock like this. Now I will say that the Spidey flicks are not as comfortable as on a non-axis flipper or non-XR flipper. So it's not as easy to do as like a Spyderco, for instance, but it's not terrible. And frankly, you're going to find yourself using the XR lock more anyway to actuate this than pretty much anything else. You'll also pretty much use the flipper tab quite a bit. So that's good as well. The action is awesome, and it's improved even more because this thing is on bearings. This is an axis flipper on bearings. If you guys have ever felt the Anthem is the Benchmade Anthem is on bearings as well, and it is one of those knives that is just really, really great. Great action, and normally you'll have a drop shot action, but this one just has an even better drop shot action than a lot of the other Axis or XR lock knives. So that is great. Next thing is, the next thing I'll talk about is the price. So the price is okay. It's not, it's not I wouldn't say it's good. I wouldn't say it's a bad. As far as quality goes, this is definitely on par with what you're going to see in that price range, which is Spyderco and Benchmade. I think they're really, really catching up to Spyderco and Benchmade on that quality standpoint, and Hogue as well. Hogue still has, I think, the best quality out of those that we're talking about for a lot of their knives, but Benchmade and Spyderco have really good quality in their own rights at different, depending on the knife. So I think they're doing a really good job of competing, but $190 for the XR version and $225 for the LTE version, I think is a little bit stiff, for what you're getting. I think these should be probably priced closer, to $150 and $180. I would be much happier at those price ranges, but I can't fault them too much for it. So there's that. I don't think they're there in name recognition. Now, SOG has great name recognition, but it's not synonymous with quality yet because they trashed their quality for so long that they haven't really earned it back, right? The next thing I'll talk about is the pocket clip. The pocket clip on this thing is horrendously ugly, just really, really bad. I do not like this. I believe it comes with 2 pocket clips, one for each side. As you can see, it's it tucks underneath the scale, but you can't swap this from side to side. I believe it has 2 different pocket clips for a lefty. I don't remember. I got mine secondhand. If mine came with an extra pocket clip or not, I think it did, but I can't quite recall. But I'm a righty, so it doesn't really matter. So that's really the biggest complaint I have on this knife is that pocket clip. It just is so horrendously awful. I hate that it says SOG here. It's really ugly. I think I've talked about that enough. The one thing I'll mention is the texture on the micarta here. This is micarta, is excellent. I really should have included that in the good. The texture is really, really good. Feels nice. I believe it's I don't think it's a canvas. I think it might be a linen micarta, but it just feels really, really good, and I'm happy with that. The biggest complaint, again, I have is the price and the pocket clip. The rest of the knife I'm pretty happy with, and I can definitely recommend this. If you're looking for a knife in this price range, this is a knife I can recommend. I'm shocked I'm saying it. I resisted buying this knife for a long time, mainly because of the Recurve, because of the price, because of the fact that it's SOG. But I like it. Would I buy if I only was buying one knife and I had $180 or $190, whatever, $225, and I was just buying one knife, would it be my first option? No, it would not be my first option. But it's getting there. I mean, I would definitely take some of the Spyderco or Benchmade or Hogue knives before I would take this, but it's getting there. And you know, if you already own some of those, this is a knife to look at. You know, it's a knife to look at. If you're ever curious, hey, you know, hey, I want an Axis style lock and I want to experience it with bearings, but I don't want to pay $500, $400 or $500 for a Benchmade Anthem. I mean, this is great. Check this out. So this, again, I can recommend it overall. It's a knife that you guys definitely should pick up if you're in the market for something like this. If you want to buy it, you can definitely help support the channel by buying through DLT Trading. I'm going to try to put a link below for DLT Trading. So if you do want to order this, order through DLT. It helps the channel, helps me do giveaways. Again, I do a lot of giveaways on this channel. So if you're not already subscribed, definitely subscribe, hit that notification bell so you do not miss the giveaways. I'll see you guys on the next video. Like and comment as well. Thanks so much.